Back in 1986, Bang Olufsen Beolab Penta loudspeakers were amongst the world's finest domestic loudspeakers. Now, almost 40 years on, they're still an item of beauty and a thing of wonder in terms of the sound they can produce, but unfortunately with age can come reliability issues. So if you've got a pair of these speakers and you're having trouble with them, this is the video for you. I'm going to explain some simple things you can do to keep these speakers alive even after it would appear that they're broken beyond repair. Come and join me and I will explain everything. If you're new to the channel, I'm Steve from soundsheavenly.com. My day job is making the cables that connect Bang & Olufsen speakers and music systems and products like these beautiful Beolab Penta loudspeakers here. But what happens if you've got these speakers and it's not an issue of not being able to connect them, but they just physically aren't working anymore? Now, with some of these speakers being best part of 40 years old, it is quite common that we get electrical issues, but they're actually generally quite simple to resolve. The most common issue I hear about is that the amplifier module at the base of these loudspeakers fails. It's actually quite tightly packed together inside a small metal box at the base of the speaker, so they have a habit of overheating. The switches and the sprung control panel on the front can have issues, and they can end up with what was a once fine loudspeaker being apparently worthless. But that is not the case. Now, the sharp-eyed amongst you I hope will have noticed that the speaker here sits probably 150mm or 6 inches shorter than the one over here. Now that has a very, very good reason, and that is that this speaker had a faulty amplifier and was useless. So we've resolved that issue. In this video, I will explain how you can very easily remove that troublesome amplifier. And there are two reasons you might want to do that. One is if you have a local B&O store, or if you want to go and take it easily to a B&O repair agent like Multicare in the UK, who I'll put a link to on the screen now and in the video description, so that they can easily repair that amplifier without you having to ship this whole loudspeaker to them. And the other thing is, if you want to use that speaker, so let's say for example you don't have a repairer in your area that you trust and it's so not feasible to get it repaired, or even just that the cost is prohibitive, we can get these speakers working. You can follow some very simple steps yourself and get these speakers working again without that amplifier. So what we have here is the original Beolab Penta loudspeaker with the amplifier fitted to the base. Here we have what was effectively the Beovox Penta as it was originally sold, a passive version of the same loudspeaker minus the amplifier. Now the difference is, in order to use this you will need to connect an external power amplifier, but that's straightforward. You can use a powered streaming amplifier like Sonos amp or Weem amp. They are incredibly good options because you can stream music then to the speakers directly from your phone. The other option is a classic Bang & Olufsen system like Beomaster 7000, Beocenter 9000 with an amplifier built in. You can power these speakers without using their internal troublesome amp. In a moment I will cut through to the repair process so that you can easily take out that amplifier, either to send it on for repair or to use the speakers in their passive version. We'll also expose a few myths that you may have seen misinformation around on the internet. So come on, let's dive straight in. So what you need for this is a socket driver with a deep socket that has a 7mm bit on the end, and you'll see at the base of the speaker, as when it's turned over gently onto its side, you have 5 7mm nuts at the bottom. Now what I suggest is that you actually support the column of the speaker on soft cushions so that it's not resting solely on that wider foot at the base. The reason for that is then it's all nice and stable. When we undo those 5 nuts, the speaker is not going to start moving suddenly. And you'll find then once you undo those, the foot will come away, and you then thread the mains cable through the hole in the middle of the foot. You can bring that out and away. And then you have 5 more nuts which then hold that amplifier module into place on the base of the speaker. Undoing those again takes them off of 5 long threaded metal rods. You can undo these. Sometimes they're actually loose, in which case if you're keeping that amplifier together with the speaker, it's worth making sure they're nice and tight. But if not, you can use a pair of pliers or grips on the non-threaded part of that rod to loosen those and bring those out completely. So now the amplifier can slide out along those rods. Underneath you'll see 3 wires. One goes to a 7-pin DIN plug. That gives the display data for the that's shown on the middle of the speakers. So that just pulls out, and then you'll see 2 screw terminals, one red, one black. Now as you feel the wire around that goes into those terminals, you'll see there is a ridge on the wire that goes to the red terminal. That's important when reconnecting because that's the positive wire, and it's important to get that the right way around on both speakers to ensure that they play in phase. Now here is where we have an urban myth within B&O circles. The socket that you see there looks exactly like a power link socket, which is the connection that's used to drive these powered speakers from a more modern Bang & Olufsen audio system. It provides stereo audio and data for the speaker displays. However, this particular socket, although you could plug a power link plug into it, it won't work. It is not a power link socket. It's wired uniquely, and it's only for communication between the Penta amplifier and the body of the Penta speaker. Now, I did mention at the start that these Pentas were also sold in a passive version without that amplifier. That passive speaker did not have that extra DIN socket at the bottom. It just had the red and black terminals for 2-core bare speaker wire. So if you see a speaker for sale that has just the 2 round screw terminals and that 8-pin DIN socket, it was originally a powered Beolab Penta. The amplifier failed and it was removed, and it was then repurposed as a passive Penta. So you need to treat it just as a pure passive speaker. The display will not work and the speaker will require a separate amplifier. So to get the foot back onto the speaker again, what we need is a pack of 10 carriage screws or bolts. They should be M4 bolts, and they should be between 40mm and 50mm long. They will then screw into the holes at the base of the speaker where the threaded rods previously connected, and they will connect the foot of the speaker securely to the rest of the speaker, and that will ensure that the speaker is nice and solid on its foot. Now your speaker with the amplifier removed is ready to go again. There are very, very few other issues now that will prevent this speaker from working. There is one other issue that is worth considering, and I will mention this fully in another video that I'll link at the end of this one, and that is that there are some mid-range speaker drivers here in the middle section of the speaker that have a foam surround, and that can corrode over time. So again, that's an easy repair, something you can do at home, and in the next video I will go into that in more detail. But suffice to say that now, if your amplifier had failed, by removing it and resetting the speaker on its foot, you can now connect it to a classic B&O music system that has a power amp built in, to a conventional hi-fi system or AV receiver, or to any normal amplifier. You can bring these incredible speakers back to life without the hassle and expense of repair. Also, if you want to go to your B&O dealer with just that amplifier module, you don't need to ship the whole speaker, or go to someone like Multicare in the UK and you can get that amp repaired and then refitting it back onto the speaker, as they say on the old Haynes car manuals, is a reverse of the removal process. Now I hope this has been helpful and given you an indication that these amazing speakers can have a new lease of life even after catastrophic failure. The video I mentioned previously about getting the foam surrounds restored, you'll see now here, and I'll also link here to a playlist of other videos about these great speakers. If you need any cables, drop me a line at soundsheavenly.com. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video.